I'm Vicki Murphy. I am a Jira Align specialist at Valiantus, which is a Platinum Solutions partner with Atlassian. In this video, I'm going to break down the updates to Jira Align with the release of version 10.127. This was released to Jira Align instances on the continuous release track on December 4th, 2023. That will typically be your test or dev environment if you have one, and it will be released to all other instances on December 8th, 2023. So let's jump in. I'm going to start with a couple of slides of some important announcements for this release. First, we have an update to the rollout timeline of the new navigation UI. Over the last several months, Atlassian has been rolling out this new navigation UI for Jira Align. Originally, the legacy UI was going to be deprecated with this release. However, Atlassian heard that customers do need a little bit more time to prepare for this, so they are pushing that back. For customers who need more time to prepare, they will have access to the legacy UI up until March of 2024 with the release of 10.131. Atlassian is going to be shifting to a phased release for this new UI, and really it's the rollback of the legacy UI here. And when they are about to switch your UI, you as a customer will receive in-app alerts in Jira Align and direct communication 30 days prior to that legacy UI being removed from your instance. Of course, some customers may be ready to make this switch now, and Atlassian encourages you, if you are in that situation, to reach out to Jira Align support and make that request. Atlassian has also announced that they will be removing the API version 1.0 with the release of 10.130, which is scheduled for February of 2024. Making this shift, they will then begin using API 2.0. And Atlassian has really been investing a lot in this API 2.0 over the last year and really making hefty improvements so it is user-friendly and it is encompassing of a lot of data in Jira Align. This does, of course, mean that you're going to need to update any integrations, queries, or other API practices that are reliant on that API 1.0. And Atlassian mentioned in the release notes that they will be publishing a migration guide to help with these efforts. It is, of course, recommended to make these changes sooner rather than later, so you are able to ask any questions to Atlassian if you have them or run into any problems. Atlassian does recommend reaching out to your Jira Align support, your solutions partner or advisory services representative if you have one, if you have any questions regarding this change. An update for customers who have on-prem instances of Jira Align. In version 10.127.x, the on-prem instances are going to have an update to the back office service. The back office service is no longer going to use the AgileCraft server database. Instead, it will be shifting to the customer database created during initial installation. With this change, it does mean that the back office service will need to be uninstalled and reinstalled in the new database specific folder when upgrading to version 10.127 and beyond. Atlassian is currently updating their installation and upgrade instructions to account for this change in both their on-premise guide as well as release notes included in the on-premise download package. Of course, if you have any questions on working with the back office service or this change, you can reach out to Jira Align support. With this release, Atlassian did remove several legacy reports that they announced previously in the year. So you see those listed here on this slide. And they also announced the removal of other functionality coming with the release of version 10.130 in February of 2024. Atlassian is going to be removing several pages, reports, and settings that are really not heavily utilized by customers. There is a very long list of things they are going to remove, so I do recommend checking out the link in the description for that full list. The biggest one that I saw is the assessments are going to be removed from Jira Align. I know several customers do use those, so do be sure to take backups, screenshots, exports where you can before that functionality is removed. I do agree with Atlassian. It really is lesser used functionality, and I do think this is going to help streamline the user interaction with the tool and admin interaction with the tool as well. All right, switching into the tool to talk about a few more updates. We do have some updates to the new UI, starting at the enterprise tier. Let me go ahead and make a selection here. So the left-hand navigation panel for the enterprise tier does now have a PI selector. Additionally, the roadmaps module has been added to this left-hand sidebar. And Atlassian mentioned an upcoming change for the enterprise tier. They are going to be removing the strategic snapshot selection from this dropdown. It will become an in-page filter instead. Next, we have an update to the backlog at the program tier. So let me navigate there. We are going to be able to start selecting multiple programs when viewing the backlog. This is a very exciting update and is going to be very useful, I think, for customers. Now in the backlog, under your tier selector here, you will have a box where you can add in multiple programs to start viewing their work in the backlog. You'll notice it does group the backlog by program here. Atlassian did mention that a multi-solution and multi-portfolio view will be deployed in future releases. A couple of updates to the sidebar. Under the reports page, the reports are now listed in alphabetical order. There are a couple at the top that are not in order, but once you get down to the assessment report, if that's turned on, everything else is now in alphabetical order. Additionally, the dependency maps are now available under reports at the portfolio, program, and team levels. We also have some updates in the world of objectives. So let me go back to my previous menu here, and I'm just going to open up my objectives tree and click on an objective. We have some terminology updates to objectives. So I do want to mention that I do have the new objective UI turned on. You can request this be enabled from Jira Align support. And Atlassian updated several of the terminology or terms of fields on this page. A couple to call out. We now have discussions up here at the top. This used to say view discussions. Under our more options button, it now says copy objective, delete objective, etc. And we also have the objective schedule is now named release or program increment if you've renamed it. And they've also made some sections here. So we see that we have a date section on the right. We have a hierarchy section, a stakeholder section, and more details, just making it a bit easier for us to navigate our objectives. We've also had some feature parity here with some renaming of the fields, such as start date, due date, etc. These are all listed in the release notes as well. Next, let's jump over to our status report. So give me just a moment to navigate here. A couple releases ago, Atlassian did make some updates to the status reports, and they are continuing down that path, making it a little bit easier to filter and view information. Our next update comes in the world of our status reports. So Atlassian has been making minor updates to this report over the last couple of releases. Continuing on with that, under extra configs, we now have a primary program filter available to us. Also on the status report itself, whenever someone updates the status field here, you can hover over that and it will show you the full name of who made that update. Also, admins are now able to update the program settings to hide standalone features. And when you set that setting to yes, it will hide the standalone features from this report. Our next update is in the admin settings, specifically on the details panel settings for the feature work item. There's a field called status here. This field actually doesn't display on the feature details panel. Rather, it is an available column in the feature grid page. So they have removed the required toggles, making it unavailable to admins, and they have also added in the active toggle, so you can turn this on or off. We've also added a tooltip field inside these details panel settings, just letting you know the details of this field. There are some updates to the API 2.0 with this release. API calls will now return the name of custom fields, and also dependencies are now supported for create, read, update, and delete functions. Atlassian continues to remove the functions of the quality module. In this release, the references and links were removed from test plans, and in the next release, we will see the same removal of test cases. This release did have several defect fixes as well. As always, you can review these defect fixes and any of the updates we have talked about in this video in the release notes, which will be linked in the description. And that is all for this release to Jira Align. Thank you very much for watching and best of luck on your Jira Align journey.